Good evening, ladies. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, children of all ages. Welcome back to Cone Racing League Tier number 4, Season number 8, Round number 9. You join us in Austin, Texas for the Circuit of the Americas Grand Prix, or the American Grand Prix if you want to be nice, easy, straightforward. We've had a little week off, break week. We're back though, second half of the season. I'm your usual comms though, CRL Freefall. Mr. Lee O'Toole though has decided to vacate the comms box yet again this season. But boy oh boy do I have a special guest for you folks tonight. He's been in the comms box once already this season, all the way back in France, and dropped an almighty F-bomb about 5 seconds into it. So let's see how he does tonight. Maybe true Haas Gunfer style. It is of course the one and only Real DC. Dan, how are you doing tonight, mate?
Good evening. Very well, Scott. Thanks very much for having me back. I won't drop an F-bomb on purpose this time round. We're all good. I'm buzzing to be here. Let's make it a good one, mate.
Definitely. Should be an interesting race around what's a relatively new circuit on the F1 calendar, of course. 3.4 miles, 5.5 kilometres long, and 20 turns. Only one of them with a name, of course, turn number 20, named after the famous American driver Andretti. Quite a household name when it comes to the American motorsport scene. But Tier 4, Dan, been an interesting season so far. Last time out, round 100, of course. We celebrated that in Portimao, or Portugal, for those that are a little bit less maybe up to date with the F1 calendar. And of course it was a sprint race. Victor Mean, the Scotsman in the Mercedes, took the victory in both the sprint and the feature. AFL and the championship leader SUFC rounded off that podium. I don't know if you caught the race, Dan, or if you've had a chance to watch it, but it was a pretty interesting one. There was a lot of battles going on, it's a tricky track, of course. It throws up much, and we've got a similar situation tonight here, I think.
Yeah, I managed to catch a few glimpses of it, which isn't very good coming from one of the head admins, but you know, sometimes we get busy, don't we? But no, you're absolutely right. Very similar, tight corners, but there are plenty of overtaking opportunities. It's all about getting the move right here, because one wrong move and that's it. There aren't many walls to find, but if you do, well, speaking of, I think that's in the pits, though, isn't it? That Trunder's retirement, is that right?
I think that is in the pits. I believe he may, I'm just going to double check, I believe he might have had a race, not a race ban, he wouldn't be here, a quali ban. Yes, he did, he had a quali ban here tonight. Not quite sure what that was for. I thought
we had a DNF 30 seconds in, it was going to be, that would have been special.
That would have been maybe a sign of things to come, and something to maybe watch out for. But no, Trundle's serving his quali ban here. He'll start from the back of the grid for the 20-lap circuit, the Circuit Americas. And like you said, some tricky sections. One to watch out here, turns 17 and 18. A bit of windy part of the track. Those that know their F1 history know that can be a tricky corner where you can get blown out a little bit wide. We'll maybe see some of that tonight. We're riding on board then with BX37 Pro in the AlphaTauri. He's going to be the first to set a lap time here. And it's a 1:35.0. Pretty solid banker from Ben here tonight. We're expecting times below 1:34s, maybe even creeping into the 1:33s. We do know there's a few drivers around here that have that kind of pace. One of them, of course, being Spider Rob, second up the line. A 36.0 for the Aston Martin. He'd be a little bit disappointed. Mark Wilson, a 35.9 for him. The man we're all looking, though, at, Dan, is this in the Alfa Romeo. SUFC, our championship leader. He's 39 points clear. But there's a few drivers in with a fighting chance of bringing him back down. Mark Wilson is one of them. Victor Mean is one of them. And AFL. They all are separated by about 45 points off the top of my head. Then there's a nice little gap. But a four-way title battle, it looks like, in the second half of the season here, Dan. Of course, 8 races still to go. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's it. It's one mistake from any of the drivers in with a shout, and it shuffles everything around constantly. So this track, you know, I think it'll be tight at the front this race. You know, they could prove me wrong, but even the track limits as well. That will be fine margins, which the championship is at the moment. I think I'm not going to jinx it too much, but SUFC very, very strong position. But yeah, we've got to keep an eye on the people behind him because they can slowly creep up.
Absolutely, you've got a 39-point advantage, eight rounds to go. As long as you don't get outscored by 5 points a round, and it is more the top paying positions that allow you to get that kind of gap on the guy in front. But like you say, it only takes one bad race and suddenly you've dropped maybe 15 points here, another 10 points there, and it's not quite all said and done. He's had good pace, but there's guys coming up behind AFL, Mark Wilson, and particularly in recent weeks, Victor Mean in the Mercedes have been right in his heels and putting the pressure on. We're going to see what kind of lap then SUFC can do. He hasn't managed to invalidate yet. Of course, 20 corners here, 5 of them being watched for track limits by the stewards, so could potentially see some post-race penalties. And speaking of that, Dan, turn 19, one of the ones we're monitoring.
That's it. No, and the game gets it absolutely spot on there. It was just a little bit of a kick out, but yeah, he's gone too far over, which is a shame because I think he was on for a very good lap to set things off banker-wise there.
Did look a solid banker from the Alfa Romeo. Of course, 18 minutes of qualifying here. We're a few minutes in already. It's 1,080 seconds to do about a 95-second lap. So there is time to get a few laps in, but like we've said, a tricky track like this, there's ample opportunity to make mistakes, to go wide, to cut too much, to invalidate a time, to end up in the wall, particularly for maybe some of the pad users. You'll know yourself with this, Dan. Sector 1. What a lap that can be.
No, you're absolutely right. I think I was having a discussion with another fellow Tier 2 driver, Liam Cross, previously, because we both being pad users, I believe. Talking about the S sectors in most tracks are a bit of a nightmare for pad users. But so you'll see, like you said, all the wheel drivers will have a bit of an advantage in that one. But it is doable. You take the lines right on the pad, and you can take it just as well as a wheel user. But it's all about those fine margins and getting the angle of entry right in every single part of that sector.
Absolutely. Slightly harder, but again, it's the same for the wheel guys here, where if you make a mistake into, say, turn 3, I believe it is, the first little kink, that reflects in your turn 4, reflects in turn 5, 6, and that can even corrupt you into 7. And you're not just talking a little bit of time here, you're talking tenths, so it'll be one to watch out for, of course. Then we've got the tricky acceleration out of turn 11 down the infamous back straight here in Kota. Ample overtaking opportunities there as Carly runs up to the line in the Red Bull. He can only do a 1:36.0. Time's pretty competitive though between the mid pack, but at the moment Ben a second clear of P4 and 3/10 clear of P2. He's looking decent in the initial stage of this qualifying, but still some big names to set a lap in. One of them is Victor Mean, last week's race winner. He looked pretty in control, and we think back to Baku as well. He put it on pole by a mighty, it was almost a tier 2 time, how quick his qualifying performance was. And then lap 1 on the very final, not even a turn, a little kink in the straight, his race was over. So he's shown a lot of pace here in recent weeks. What kind of pace is he going to throw down tonight? Yeah. Well, there you go. 1:34.666, Dan. Tier 3 next season, time. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even this season. No. Very, very good lap. 4/10 clear of anyone else. But there might be people that surprise us. BX37 Pro, that was just his banker lap. I think he is currently on a lap now, so we'll see how that goes closer to the end. But yeah, very, very competitive time. Like you said, mid-pack, very, very close, which is always good to see.
Absolutely, and it is one of those tracks, like we say, we've already talked about the invalidations, but it can be a real pressure taker. Get a lap time down, it doesn't need to be flying. You've got something on the board, because there will be people maybe spin out, like we seen AFL on his flying lap there. He lost it on the final corner, just going a little deep, losing it under traction, and that's why he's got a 1:39.0. His teammate, though, the man in the admin seat here, in the host seat, CRL Murphy, a 1:35.221 for the old northeastern lion, we'll call him. I don't know, we need to be nice to him this time, Dan. We were quite sore on him the last time we were in the comms box together.
You've already said the word old, so
well. Murphy, we love you. Age is just relative. You just happen to be older than myself and Dan. But to be fair, so is a large portion of this grid. And there'll be a battle of, and I hope they don't mind me saying it, two of the oldie boys down at the bottom of the championship table. Ghost Danger 1, Mighty Atom, still looking for a point to propel their seasons ahead. Ghost has been close on so many occasions. Atom coming in the later part of the season. He's had a few chances and they've just seemed to go amiss. They're also battling out with one of our youngest drivers who I still can't believe hasn't scored, and he's not going to score because he's not here tonight. It is, of course, IRT iConnects, an esports driver, or an esports team anyway, associated driver at the bottom of tier 4. Really shows you how quick this league is getting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fellow IRT driver with myself, but we're both being on the bottom end. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's some talented guys on this grid, and we're yet to see, I think, everyone's sort of maximum pace. With a season that's got such a close grid, it's difficult because you can get different people on the podiums, different winners. It's all about people showing us what they have, I think.
Absolutely. There's a few constant contenders, but every other week it is roll the dice and who's going to be competitive, because there is such a tight sort of knit in the group. There is such a close battle going on, and all it takes is somebody to have a slightly better week, or maybe get slightly more practice in, or just favour a track a little bit more, and suddenly they're jumping up from battling for the bottom end of the points to all the way up for the podium spots. So it'll be interesting to see who can come top with that. Spider Rob is one that's going to be looking to hunt down some points. He fancied himself as firm favourite last week in Portimao. Didn't quite come together for him. It was one of his favourite tracks. I'm not too sure how he's feeling about tonight, but again, another driver constantly improving. He's on his second flying lap at the moment as he turns through the middle sector. You've got this left-hander, of course, of 15 and 16 before the... 15 the left-hander, then the triple right-hander of 16, 17 and 18. He takes us on board through. Looking at half-decent time at the moment, Dan. A couple of corners still to go, and one very tricky one, of course, Andretti, named after that famous name in American motorsport. What kind of lap can he do? It is an improvement. It's not enough to make a position, but time gained is not time lost, I suppose. That's a really weird way of saying it.
There's a yellow flag. It's just someone coming through. I want action tonight, Scott. I want a lot of action. Not retirements, but action.
Side by side, some maybe daring moves into turn 1, into turn 12, through the final sector. A little bit of side by side action. I'm hoping for it as well. And of course, one thing we can never discount here is Texas. It is, a warm bit of the American continent, as SUFC puts in a pretty warm lap with 1:34.732. But we can never write off a little bit of rain here, and that could just swing things from maybe a bit competitive to a bit chaotic. We'll wait and see with that. But top 3 here, Dan, all separated by 2/10. They've got a nice little 3.5/4 gap back to Murphy.
Sorry, I'm not gonna say anything on the stream because I'm not one to grasp. But I've seen a few corner cuts and extensions there from a certain driver to get into the pits. Which unfortunately isn't allowed because it gains you the time advantage. But as I said, I won't say their name, but there's a few naughty boys.
A few naughty ones might get away with it, of course. 3.5 minutes on the clock. We have had instances that before with the stewards team that it didn't really have an impact in getting out again, but could be an interesting one. AFL, they are getting a little bit of a victim of that first S section, I suppose you could call it. He got a little bit out of shape, had to take a very restricted line through the second half of the S's, and you can see how much that sort of impacted his lap time as he goes down towards the hard braking zone of turn 11, the left-hander, before the long DRS straight. A nice little uphill ride here as well, up towards the sun when we're on the official time of day, of course, to limit the impact that has on the drive. And we're playing here at midday. The sun is high in the sky instead of tight on the horizon. End of the second sector then for AFL, and it looks to be
slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, 7.5 tenths off his best time. He will improve no matter what because he did have that spin on the final corner, so we'll maybe come back to him in a little bit. I believe DS Baker is the only car on a lap, and he's sitting at the side mowing some grass, so no lap for him. Yeah,
I
it's an
think
interesting
he's just
strategy.
set one. I think he's just set one. It come up when I changed to him saying he'd just gone 5 tenths faster. So I think. Oh, is he trying to keep? He's trying to keep out of the way. Never mind. I was just trying to find problems, Scott. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, I just found the problem for Mr. AFL running wide on the exit of turn 19. Saw his lap time be invalidated, and it will be no more for him. Scooter Clement says he's on a flying lap. He's just in the final sector, about to start his, as is Murphy. And BX37 Pro, Big Ben as he used to be known, is starting his final run here into the first sector. We'll get a little run on board with him. He'll be the first one up to the line at the end of this session. Currently P3 needs to find 2 tenths to have a hope at challenging for the pole position, and judging by that time, I think he's backed out with 2 seconds off his best. He will just have enough time to maybe sneak round and get another lap time in, Dan, but those tyres will be a little bit more cooked. Murphy is purple sector 1, 2 tenths up in his best time. That would see him. He's creeping into that top 3 here, Dan, and a few more good runs through the next few sectors could see a surprise pole sitter from where is it? Darlington, Durham, somewhere northeast.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny where he's from. Data protection reasons. He signed a contract. No joke. I don't know the exacts, but yeah, in the northeast.
Somewhere in the northeast that starts with a D. So you can play a game of where does Murphy stay, I suppose. 6 tenths up though at the end of the second sector. That's enough to put him in pole contention here, Dan. In fact, it puts him clear of Victor Mean's time at the moment. He's rounding this final sector then. The triple right-hander and 2 left-handers sit between Mr. Murphy and provisional pole.
I'm holding my breath, Scott.
The whole admin team is at this stage. This could be absolute limbs in a second. He rounds that final corner. Get the toe down, Murphy. Get the DRS open.
Yay!
It's a 34.499. Sees him go just shy of 2 tenths.
Victor Mean is down on his time as well. No. BX37 Pro is also down on his time. SUFC didn't come out of the pits. I think. Oh, Mark Wilson is 7 tenths up though.
Interesting. Mark Wilson, where is he? He's coming through the the third sector. Sorry, I was going to say the second to last sector, but that just makes no sense. 7 tenths then, sorry. That could see him get into that mix for around P3, P4, and a couple of good corners here. Keeps it within the lines just, but like you say, that little lift, it will have lost him a little bit of time. DRS open on the back of the Red Bull. What is it? It's a 34-3!
Oh, heartbreak. Murphy must have been gutted.
There's still a contender though. Wiban on his last lap. He is a little bit up in his time, but maybe there's a lot of time to game in this third sector for him. We shall wait and see. IR Marshall goes P6 with a 35.025. I believe Topher just jumped up to P10. Where can Wiban stick the Haas at its home Grand Prix?
Yeah.
Does improve, but not enough to make a position. Spider Rob up to P8 there with 35.3.
And Tomo tipped up. I think he was a little bit up, but he's done a pirouette on the penultimate corner, so that will be all she wrote for him.
So for him, Curley into the pits as well, and I believe the only car actually with a driver in control is Murphy, but invalidated lap time and no ERS. He's not going to improve, and that is qualifying.
I'll tell you what, I am gutted for Murphy, but well done, Mark Wilson. Good lap. What a lap.
Absolutely superb lap. Mark Wilson then, a man on a charge, not only in the championship, but in race weekends in recent weeks. He takes pole position for the Red Bull, a 10.5 clear of Murphy, to about a 10.5 again further back to Victor Mean, and then it really tightens up 700s. The gap from Victor Mean to SUFC, and you're sitting there, SUFC. He's got 2 of his rivals, Victor Mean and Mark Wilson, starting in front of him here for Kota. But that is only qualifying. There is no points for Saturday, but I can already see one happy customer in the chat. It is, of course, Mark Wilson's other half, Daniela, here every week. We love to see you back once
Always
again.
here.
And I think the celebrations in the Wilson household will be going a bit mental at the moment, and they'll be hoping they can continue that on. But there is your qualifying grid then, Dan. Mark Wilson ahead of Murphy. Victor Mean ahead of SUFC. BX37 Pro, that was his first and only competitive lap time he managed to get in, and it stuck him at P5. What he could have done with another lap, it leaves a little bit wondering. IR Marshall, the first of the cars in the 135s, ahead of Wiban, Spyro Rob, Scooter Clem, Topher, Tom Tip Top, Curly, Hasbala, DS Baker, and a few more further down, but quite a close sort of top 5, top 6. Definitely a good sign for the racing to come. And Daniela, yep, anything can happen now though. Exactly on the button there. Anything can happen in motor racing, especially when you're sitting playing it on the virtual landscape, because that just adds its own little twists and turns, Dan. But I'm not going to ask you to pick a winner. Because we all know how that'll end up.
Well, no, the last time I did it, I'm just saying.
Well, if you want, I'm beyond doing it now because I'm
no,
sick
yeah,
of giving.
I don't want to risk it.
I'm sick of giving the bad juju onto somebody and causing an early retirement. But there's a few drivers. There's certainly a few drivers that are in with a chance. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's it. Well, it's all these championship contenders have all got a chance. Watch all of them retire now. But no, there might be someone maybe just slightly down the field. You know, this is a very tricky track. Safety cars, from experience in recent weeks, come out quite regularly. You know, even if it's just a spun car, so we've certainly got to keep an eye on. But if you get the strategy right, you could start at the back, and that's it. But you said, exactly as Danielle said, anything can happen. So just got to keep an eye out for anything.
That's it. That is our glorious and sometimes insanely tricky job, is to try and spot anything before it even happens. It's a bit like doing your hazard perception in your driving test. You're trying to find issues before they occur. And sometimes we do miss them, but hopefully we will get most of the action here tonight. Speaking of the drivers down the grid there, of course I've got Trunders serving a qualifying ban. He's currently 7th in the drivers' standings. He's had a few good results this season, so don't bat him out. AFL 2nd in the drivers' standing. He's down that grid a little bit after a poor qualifying. So again, one to maybe keep an eye on, could be coming through the field. And this top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8 even, relatively close. Maybe not all together, but to the car in front and the car behind. And when you put that onto track, instead of doing one flying lap with clean air, you put it onto a track with degrading tyres, increasing levels of on-track rubber, increasing tyre temperatures, and of course DRS, and maybe the odd car trying to send one down your inside. It has the opportunity to breed a little bit of chaos, a little bit of action, and hopefully 19 cars making it to the end in what is going to be, I'm not too sure, is it 32 laps, 28 laps, something like that. You can tell I'm well prepared tonight, folks.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Oopsie.
Oh, professional as always. 28 laps, I knew it was something like that, Dan. We got there on the end.
I wouldn't have known that anyway, so it's a good thing I was muted. No, you're right. I did also think, I forgot we only had 19 drivers tonight. So I thought you'd said, well, hopefully 19 drivers. I thought you had a vendetta about one.
I just had one letting them a little, like the death book, like they will not finish here tonight, and I was going to magically unveil it at the end of the Grand Prix and be like, I told you so. No, sadly.
There you go.
Sadly, 3 drivers, full-time drivers absent. I believe it was Iconex, the Maverick, and I'm going to make myself look really... what's the word? Ignorant, I suppose you could say here, and forget who the third one is. It is... Yes.
I zoned out. Third one?
Yeah, whoever you are, I do apologise. I'm not even too sure, because I've only got 2 absences.
Like I said, I zoned out. Is it the absences, is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who we're missing Iconex and we're missing the Maverick, but I can't think who else.
Let me have a gander for you, Scott.
I'll figure that out while we go round the formation lap then. Lap 0 of 28, a time for these drivers to do the last little bit of prep, to the last little bit of tyre heating and get ready for what's sure to be an exhilarating 28 laps. There's our tyre compounds for the start of the Grand Prix, and they go 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Two mediums for Mark Wilson and Murphy ahead of the two hards for Victor Mean SUFC on row 2. Row 3, Ben and Marshall round off with the yellow striped mediums before row 4. Wiban and Spider Rob back on to the hards. Scooter Clem and Topher row 5 gone back on to the yellow striped mediums before the lone hard sitter of Tomo Tip Top P11. P12 from Curly all the way down to P16 Ghost Danger 1 back onto the mediums. AFL, Trunders and Mean Man Moody round off with a little sandwich at the bottom there with a medium filling on 2 slices of white hard bread. My analogies get better every week, folks. This is what you come here for. I hope you're
hungry. Yeah.
I hope you've all had something good to eat. Of course, the sun is set now, so hopefully nobody is still fasting if that is what you're up to. We have been fasting for the last week, though, from a little bit of motor racing here on the CRL channel, but we're about to get underway for the American Grand Prix, round number 9, season number 8, tier number 4, marking the second half of this season, the longest season in CRL's history, and of course it is round 101, taking us firmly into triple digits on the round counter. And a lot of these drivers here have been here for half of the history of Cone. Let's see how long or how many we can get to with a lot of them. I'm hoping for 200 myself at least. Yeah, it's a strange one.
There we go. You keep an eye on the front, I'll keep an eye on the back.
Absolutely. 5 red lights. We're going to have the AI car of Ben in P5, but it is lights out, and away we go for the American Grand Prix. Murphy getting a little bit happy on the accelerator, pulling over to the right. He's back into the midfield pack. Mark Wilson.
There's a diving Red Bull.
Curly going down the inside, trying to get a good camera on that. He made contact with, I believe, SUFC. Marshall getting past his Victor Mean spun on the exit of turn 2.
It's all kicking off.
We said we wanted action. Well, we definitely got some action to start with. Mark Wilson, though, 1.4 seconds clear. The front runner has got away clean as you like. And
it's what we wanted, Scott. Like you said, entertainment. We've had a Red Bull torpedo at turn 1 in the backfield. We've had a Mercedes engaged in lawnmower mode. What's not to like?
We've nearly had the full bingo card on lap 1 already. Mighty Atom moving up into P10 ahead of BX37's Ghost. Murphy down from P2 to P8. He had a horrendous start, getting too trigger happy on the throttle and spinning it out. Does well though to recover. He's going to hold up and try and work his way back through the field. Hasbula, I'm just going to have a look. How many positions has he gained? He's up 7, up to P6. Atom up 6. Mean Moody up 8. So a few big winners there on the big loser, of course. Victor Mean down 15, losing it on turn 2. He's got a lot of work ahead of him here.
Yeah, you're right. But speaking of Hasbula, Scott, when are you scrapping him?
Only did need
Answer
to get the
age-old question.
There was, I believe it was 64%, 66% didn't back me.
Yeah. I think it was. But we can find out now. Shocking. You know, it's here.
We can get the deal done, get him in the right. I'm sure we can get on the next DAZN or other boxing promoter wildcard. You know.
Oh, there is a spinning Williams Trunders on the penultimate corner. I didn't see what happened, but it looks like he might have just got a bit too pedal happy, I think is the phrase for it, and turns out facing the wrong way.
Lighting up the rears and going for a spin, settling into the race. They've found their position for this first stint. Lap 2 of 28 here. Mark Wilson on the mediums is using that to pull away from SUFC, who's got IR Marshall, Wuban, Scooter Clem and Hasbula looking very close over his shoulder. Big performance by Scooter Clem and Hasbula so far. I know it is lap 2, but two pretty new names to the grid up there, mixing it with the top. What we got, Dan?
I'm sat here watching Trunders in the backfield. He's unfortunately having a bit of a torrid time. I think that spin may have heated his tyres up, so he needs to just take it easy, and fingers crossed, just drive the race. Fingers crossed for a safety car.
Yeah, anything can happen. We're on board with the battle for P14 at the moment, as Marshall looks to have had a spin. There's contact between BX37 Pro or
Oh,
Go
we're at the
Stage 1, I believe
fairground,
it is.
Scott. They're in the bumper cars.
Well, and truly, this is a 7-car bumper car fest by the looks of it here. There was some nice side-by-side action, then it just got a little bit elbowsy out. There's 2 cars round.
Oh.
DS Baker and Go Stage 1 losing it at the Nico Rosberg windy corner, and they are facing the wrong way around. I believe AFL extended a little bit there on 19, extends again at 20. Watch out for the DRS sign there, son. You'll get some polystyrene all over the front of that lovely McLaren. But he falls back in line using a bit of ERS. And the camera angles are a bit shocking on this, I must admit. Sorry about that, folks. But he does get the move on Victor Mean. Victor Mean going for the switchback. They're 3 wide going into turn 2. This is for P13 of all places as well. And we're getting elbows out racing like this.
Over the wooden spoon.
Things that we love to see here. Of course. Oh, and Victor Mean! And I believe this is my first bit of commentators because he's lost it on the S6 and exit into the wall. No front wing on that Mercedes, and it's going to be an early pit stop for him.
Ghost Angel 1 is round as well. The back drivers having having a great time.
Yeah, they'll definitely.
But yeah, this is okay.
They'll definitely putting a show on, we could definitely say. BX37 Pro back in the lobby had a little look at Topher down the end of the back straight into turn 12. Thought better of it, not going for a too audacious dive. Of course, started P5, got disconnected, he's back in, and we'll be looking to charge through the field. The front 2 though, well clear at this stage, Dan. SGFC.
Yeah, they have checked out.
FGFC, we know he's rapid, he's in the hards, of course. He's got a little bit harder work to do than Mark Wilson. You could almost say Mark getting the advantage of the mediums, but they've already broke the DRS 1 second detection, and that could be crucial.
There's a spinning Merc. He was in that battle with BX37 Pro, and all of a sudden he's in the wall. Not playing the blame game. He could have just spun, but it's not looking at the back. It's just someone's thrown some banana skins on the track, Scott.
We've got bumper cars and Mario Kart coming together, and we've got our first retirement of the night. It is Tomo Tip Top, and it is a full course safety car.
Some of these drivers are taking into that corner made me think they were making connections with his nose. Well, there we go. Trunders. He stayed on track. He's back in it.
Absolutely himself. Ghost Danger 1 having a spin, and Victor Mean, of course, losing his front wing. They'll all get a chance to regroup now as lap 4 of 28 sees the safety car deployed. That nullifies the lead for Mark Wilson at SUFC. And speaking of SUFC, he is the first to pick up a time penalty. A very uncharacteristic penalty from him as well, picking up 3 seconds. BX37 Pro, not to be outdone though, decides to go for a little drive through for speeding under the safety car. Ben, of course, an experienced driver here. Yeah, a very, very silly mistake from a very experienced driver. That surprised me, that. But yeah, first and maybe only safety car of the night. But I think I say it every week, Dan, safety cars can breed safety cars sometimes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But they are sometimes key in races like this. Especially for... Oh, is that another one?
It is, yeah, Ben. I wonder
if...
Oh,
no.
Now, not to put my tinfoil hat on here, but I believe what's happened with Ben, and if he is listening, I hope he hears this. Sometimes what can happen with the disconnection issues is it's almost like a UI glitch. You don't see when you're getting warnings. You don't see when you're getting speeding into the pits, or even your delta at times, and that may be what's going on with Ben, or maybe just trying to push on too much and a little bit careless driving. But I'd bet anything on the fact that he's got a UI glitch here, and unfortunately it's 2 drive-throughs. He can't serve them under safety car, of course. He's going to have to wait for us to get back under green flag racing, and he's going to have to do it not once but twice, Dan. So disaster for Ben tonight.
Yeah, have a buffet set up for him in that pit lane. He's going to be visiting twice.
Absolutely, he's going to get plenty of viewing time looking down through the pit boxes tonight. So lap 5 then under safety car. We're just waiting for the back of the pack to regroup up. We have had 4 cars into the pits. IR Marshall dropping off his mediums for a set of hards. Curly doing the same, and Victor Mean, we saw spin. He started on the hards onto the mediums. Going to be a little bit different strategy for him tonight, but at least he's going to be back up with the pack. And man that may be cursing ever so slightly is Mark Wilson. He was using the advantage of those mediums early doors. He pulled out a gap, and that gap is now, of course, nullified, and he's got to do it all over again. But this time with slightly more worn tyres and with, SUFC right on his tail. So it might be a little bit trickier once again. Murphy, though, on the recovery, back up to P6. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on him tonight.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about Mark Wilson on those mediums, the lap 4 is really when they start to unlock. They can go a very, very long distance into this race in the grand scheme of things. I think it was just last week myself, I was racing on this track, and I think I managed to take them. I think they were like 18 laps old. So very, very. Don't get me wrong, like they were 60%, but they do go. So we just got to make the most of it. And with this penalty SUFC's got, this stint here before he pits for his second set of tyres is going to be crucial.
Absolutely, it is. It is one of those tracks where, like most of them, the medium hard or the hard medium is the most viable strategy. But when you've got mediums that can last that length, it really opens up opportunities of, do you pit early off the hards or pit early off the mediums and go for an undercut and maybe, older mediums towards the end of the race or older hards, or do you leave it long, maybe hope for a safety car and have fresh tyres if it doesn't come out at the end? Of course, you're going to get undercut there, but you've got a chance to make it back up. So it sometimes gives us a nice little spin, a track like this, on the strategy front. We don't always have, specifically compared to the last couple of years' games where you had the option of, soft hard, soft medium, soft medium sometimes being more viable. But this track opens up that a little bit because there is such a wider pit window. And, of course, a safety car like this, it's going to allow the drivers to sort of nurture those tyres a bit more. We may see some of them go a wee bit longer now, and could give us a nice little dynamic in way of pit stop battles, and then also more tyre life, more desire to battle. I always like to think it as if you've got more life to use, you're going to use it, you're going to battle harder, you're going to race faster, and that can only be good for us, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hopefully not as all over the place as the opening couple of laps. We want to see some nice clean racing, but I think, there we go. It's in this lap. So Mark Wilson leading the pack, getting a little bit of temperature in those tyres. This is where you need to be careful though, because you are on now the safety cars come out, the strategy's out the window. He needs to get the perfect balance of getting temp in those tyres but not wearing them too much, because he is going to have to use them.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that balance. You overwork the tyres here, you're going to use up that little bit extra wear, and you could, you're preheating the tyres, you could almost preheat them too much, and then once you get up to speed racing, and it's a very early goal. Yeah, the safety car not even in the pits yet, but he is going to be in the pits by the time he gets there.
He's racing but to the pits, it's okay.
He makes it work though, up to the line, and it is going to be green flag racing once again, and seems to have caught most people unaware. A few 3-second time penalties there though, Dan. And
I think they were corner cuts somehow. But BX37 Pro getting another one. So is that just a glitch? Is the thing?
It may well be. Wuban caught a little bit sleeping there. He's 1.8 seconds adrift from the front two. Scooter Claim 1 second back from the Haas, sleeping a little bit, as is his teammate Mighty Atom. Up into P7 though is Atom, the 1.7 seconds clear from Murphy. A little bit of catching up to do for that train, but hopefully we get some smooth running, some smooth racing, and less of the bumper cars, I think, was the distraction.
AFL and Topher side by side. And there's a yellow flag. It's Mean Man Moody.
Moody having a spin. The Mercedes having a torrid time here, it must be said, tonight. AFL all over the rear of that Ferrari gearbox on the run down towards turn 12. You can see the McLaren and the Ferrari going side by side. AFL on the right, on the inside, and gets the move done.
Well played from Tofi. You know, he didn't have the line. Just sit behind him and make it stick. Which I thought he was going. Oh. Sorry, just making noises now. That's all I'm doing.
Little bit of contact there then between the McLaren and the Ferrari. It looks as if maybe some minor wing damage for the Ferrari after that. He was trying to go for the switchback and I think just mistimed it slightly, and yeah, a little bit unfortunate. BX37 Pro in his recovery drive getting ahead of the mighty Atom. Of course, he does have those 2 drive-throughs to serve, and I believe it will only be this lap and next to serve at least one of them. I'm not sure how that works with the 2. I hope if it is this UI glitch, he actually knows he's got them, or else we could see the black flag be waved for the Alpha Tauri here and being DSQ'd from this race, which we obviously don't want to see. So hopefully, Ben, you know the script, you know what's going on, and if you don't, hopefully you find out before it's too late.
Yeah, that's it. There is unfortunately nothing we can do at the end of the race. You know, it is an unfortunate glitch. But there's no way we can. What's the word for it? There's no way we can control it. You know, which is very, very unfortunate. As you said, he's on a recovery drive. I think he did drop a few positions at the start, and now he's back up where he needs to be. So yeah, hopefully he knows what to do.
Fingers crossed. Battle's still raging down. In fact, I'm going to jump further up the field as Murphy gets the move on Hasbula for P5. There's battles going down further on in the grid. It was IR Marshall's looking at, but it should be the one behind. Curly getting past Trundles. Victor Mean trying to slink around the outside now into the third sector here. That outside is eventually going to turn into the inside, but he's going to have to settle back inside. No, he thought about it. He thought about it for a second, and maybe a good job he didn't, because Trundles makes contact with Curly in front and spins the 2. That was almost absolute carnage there.
I think that's damage. I had a very, very similar incident in any small tap to a side pod. But he's carrying on, so maybe not. But yeah, 37 Pro is serving his penalty. I'll keep an eye on that if you want to keep an eye on the action.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got the message. He's at least he knows that he has got that them penalty infraction. So he's going to finish this race by the looks of it. At least.
And he's got another one. So because he's got that second. So unfortunately, he will be going back through next lap, I think.
Yeah, I mean a relatively short pit lane, it must be said here, so it's not a huge loss of time, but when you're losing, you know, the guts of 20 seconds, 20 seconds twice, it's not too great at all. Big shout out, Ferg, join us in the chat, I love to see you, mate. We've got Mean Moody, he was in here at the start letting us know it was 28 laps, as is Victor Mean, I believe it is, is it Rosie and Wario, all in the chat. Love to see you guys. Quite a diverse cast of characters there. It must be said. Victor
Mean, not people you put in a room together, but no.
It could be Ferg and Wario walk into a room, and well, to be fair, I think I've seen that once before. Once upon a time. He's still not over the fact I beat him at Tony Hawk's that one night. And
we're not over that night, Scott. That pool game was full of twists and turns, mate.
It's almost as many twists and turns as this race has had, and we're only 10 laps. And Murphy is now, after dispatching Hasbula, he's dispatched Scooter Clem, and he's chasing down the Haas of Wuban. He's big recovery driver, says yellow flags, and it's Trundles once again.
He's having an awful time. It's that same corner as well, unfortunately. I don't know, is he just maybe taking too much curve, too high a gear, too low a gear, sorry.
Yeah, it's maybe just like you say, taking too much entry curb, maybe losing it on the sausage curbs are plenty here around a few of the corners that can really unsettle the car, or maybe just it could also be a tyre heating issue. You've got the triple right-hander before that, of course. Maybe the tyre's getting a little bit cooked there and losing it on traction coming into the left-hander. Murphy then trying to make a move now for P3. He's in DRS range down the back straight, the run down to turn 12. But Wiban managing to extend the gap a little bit and not really using any ERS shows that he's maybe on lower wings. AFL though, his teammate having no bother getting past Spider Rob with that DRS, and Iron Marshall.
Whoa, okay, sorry. Spider Rob, he thought that he thought he'd try the to take the position back. A little bit of a late dive, but they've both come out in one piece.
Managed to make it work. DS Baker losing out to IR Marshall, and Victor Mean also squeezing through there. Yellow flags further up, and it's Murphy. Murphy on a recovery drive. He's only dropped down to P6, it must be said. Doesn't look like there's any damage. He's kept it going, but that triple right-hander, we've saw it lose a couple of cars in the opening lap. It's lost another here on lap number 10 for Murphy. Now starting lap 11, we've got a four-way battle heating up here, Dan, for P8. Spider Rob trying to go around the outside of AFL into turn 1. That'll turn to the inside to turn 2. And,
no.
It's happened. He must have not realised he had two drive-throughs, and it is a DSQ for Ben.
That's pain.
That is pain indeed. Nothing worse to see. Of course, like you said, it's sadly one of the, you know, as much as we have a stewarding team and a bunch of the community that try and keep the racing as fair and as honest and as, you know, legitimately as we can, there's some things that we can't really compensate for, and something like that is one of them. So it is going to be curtains for Ben's night. He had a solid qualifying performance. A little bit of an issue during the race under the safety car, it seemed probably caused by the connection issues, and it is going to be good night for him. Good night for Spider Rob as well, as Victor Mean puts him to bed into turn number 12. Almost didn't look like the move was going to come off, and I think it was maybe just a, you know, Rob leaving a little bit too much room on the inside. Victor Mean saying, if you're going to leave it, I'm going to take it, and that is that's how to do it.
He's got a threat from behind now. IR Marshall and DS Baker both hot on his heels.
Of course, Victor Mean pitting for the mediums after a few laps. IR Marshall pitting as well for the hards, and a little bit fresher tyres, maybe getting a little bit more grip. Victor Mean getting past AFL. Marshall having a run at Spider Rob into turn 1. You can see the red light there flashing in the rear of Spider Rob. He's low on the ERS battery deployment, especially compared to the Ferrari behind, so definitely
needs to be smart with it. It's one of those tracks you can't regain it. There aren't many heavy, that maybe sector 3, but even then, you know, you need to be smart about it. If I was him, I'd save a little bit now. Yeah, you may have to sacrifice a position or two, but put yourself in a good position for a solid points finish at the end.
Absolutely. Sometimes you need to sacrifice the pace now to try and hold on later. You don't win out all your battles on the initial lap.
There's a big battle. AFL's round, but his teammate has just made it past Hasbulla.
So the two McLarens battling against various options here. One of them, the lead, battling against the Aston Martin, the other battling against his own car. And one of the McLarens winning that battle, the other one sadly losing it. IR Marshall battling out with Spider Rob as well. This still raging on. Rob defending everything he has, making that Aston Martin as wide as he possibly can, despite having the ERS disadvantage. And like you say, he's barely recovered any. You only have, like you said, a couple of hard braking zones into turn 11 before the straight, at the end of the long straight, and that's pretty much it. Maybe turn 1. DS Baker, though, has had a spin. He's another victim of the triple right-hander. Scooter Clem from P4 jumps into the pits after 12 laps on the mediums.
So it's a good decision. You need to get on a new set of compounds, but it's going to be too late. There's a yellow flag.
I think it's Baker again. Yeah, just overhead
tires.
It
is that last couple of corners, Scott. That seems to be where everyone's having the issues.
I think it might just be the odd little setup tweak needed. Just maybe getting too much heat through the triple right-hander, which is maybe why we're seeing a couple of drivers spin there. And if they do make it through there and they're on the limit of the tyre heat, as soon as they turn for that hard left-hander, it's near enough, you can see in the map there, a 90-degree turn, it just sort of, the car goes underneath you without you even knowing. Currently they're making a mistake at the exit of turn number 10, I do believe it is, and lets AFL sneak back through.
Sorry, just an interesting thing I should probably mention. Trunders, he has just pit for a second set of mediums.
Interesting one. So he's obviously went on the balance setup. He's only went on, right. He must be banking on a light safety car, set on the softs, and try and blitz through the pack towards the end. Or if that doesn't happen, he might at least have a chance at the fastest lap. So a bold strategy, and sometimes when you're P16, 10 seconds adrift of the nearest car, that's what you need to give your race a chance.
There's nothing to lose, is there? Nothing to lose.
Absolutely not. Mark Wilson into the pits, as is Murphy and Hasbala. AFL picks up a 3-second time penalty. I'm trying to get, who is that? I'm trying to look at Scooter Claim. I want to see where is Scooter Claim going to come out in comparison to all these that he's tried. He's tried to go for the undercut. Coming up to the line. There's Hasbala. There's Murphy. But Mark Wilson well clear.
Thought we were going to see a McLaren torpedo, but Murphy thinks better of it, which is good. There's that knowledge on his shoulders. What it is.
An experienced driver, and of course one of the guys that runs, well, pretty much the only guy that runs this division for the most part, sets up all the lobbies, keeps everybody in check, and tries to make sure things run as smoothly as they can. And his race hasn't been the smoothest tonight, but he is on that recovery. I think that's about net P4 he's on for at the moment. Big one to watch then. It'll be the battle between Mark Wilson and essentially Wuban and SUFC, although I would say it is more SUFC battling out with Mark at this stage. He has got himself in a little bit of traffic though. Spider Rob behind, Mighty Atom in front, and then he's got a nice little bit of a gap, fresh air. That's of course the thing, you know, the way the pit stops work, of course, Dan. Most of us know this, but you know me, I like to just waffle on and explain things that I don't need to. You come into the pits early, you get nice fresh rubber, you can put the power down, but the risk is if you come out in the wrong bit, on the wrong part of the track, with those cars in front of you, you can't really use that to your advantage. They end up fighting you, and ultimately you lose the benefit of the fresh rubber. So he's not going to have that issue though. He's ahead of Spider Rob, and Mighty Atom has just pulled into the pits and in fact gave him DRS while he was at it. So a little bit of teamwork there, you can almost say, between the Alpine and the Red Bull. Maybe not intended, but definitely working out for them pair. Murphy gets ahead of, it's just Mighty Atom in the pits. I was thinking he'd made an overtake as AFL.
You have got, I was going to say, you got AFL and Curly side by side.
Side by side.
An interesting sector one. Well, that was it.
That was it. Side by side for a quarter of a corner there, Dan. And two not going into one. There is a section you can go side by side. It is, yeah, of course, the only thing, you can't take it at full racing speed, and that looked to be what the two of them tried to happen. So maybe one for the steward's box. We'll wait and see it later on. But AFL having a horrid time, and his championship hopes not completely out the window, but taking a dent here tonight.
Yeah, nothing's over till it's over, but yeah, that's going to hurt his chances. He is still on the straight and narrow, so to say, but still in the points just. So it's seeing where he can get back up to, but he does still have to pit. He's been on those for 14 laps, maybe stretch until the end, but it's going to be tight.
Yeah, he has used his two mandatory tyre types, so he could go to the end if he wanted to. It is going to be a long haul, but you know, the mediums can last 18 laps. I'm pretty sure the hards will be able to stretch it out to 26. They will be absolutely screaming by the end of it, but we do know Armani AFL. He's a very quick driver in this grid, and he's put together a few podium performances this season. He's been a title contender, of course, against the one and only Hedgehog, in I believe it was season 6. It was season 5, the two of them battling out to the bitter end for the championship, so he knows what to do to be up there. And yeah, plenty of action still to come from him this season. I'm currently on board with Murphy once again. He's getting a lot of love tonight. He's chasing down Scooter Clem for what is essentially net P4, maybe even net P3 by the time they get the undercut on Wuban. Of course, Wuban and SUFC on the hards. Victor Mean, big shout out to him. He was right down at the back with a broken wing. Of course, pit on to the mediums. He's probably going to struggle to take them to the end, but he's not too far off, racing with the likes of maybe Wuban and Cole round about the mid-pack of the single figures. So a nice recovery drive from him at this stage. But SUFC 12 seconds out front almost. His main competitor, Mark Wilson. It'll be interesting to see where they come out. Mark Wilson, 2 laps on his hards. He's going to have a little bit of a pace advantage at the moment, Dan, but as soon as SUFC gets the mediums on, it could all change. But penalties will come into it, of course, and SUFC 3 seconds at the moment. It'll be interesting to see, can they hold out with the pens and keep it at that? Can Mark do what he couldn't do in Portugal and not get a last minute pen that cost him a few positions? It cost him a place on the podium, in fact.
Yeah, that's it. SUFC looks like he's been released. It's what's he, 15, 16 seconds ahead of Mark Wilson right now. He's going to come out. It's going to be tight, but he will then, after a few sectors, have the tyre advantage. So it's going to be a very interesting end to this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say it's 20 seconds. He's in the pit, so he's going to come out about 5 seconds behind Mark. So just in front of Spider Rob. But of course, he's going to have to get up the speed or up the temp. He'll lose maybe a little bit of time but then once he gets those tyres going, he will be absolutely flying on the fresh mediums. Speaking of fresh mediums, AFL has decided to come in for a new set. So another recovery shot from him, and in fact, although he's quite a little bit off the lead, you look at the first car coming through the penultimate corner here on the last car's just finishing the first sector. There's not huge gaps between yes, there's a couple 5-6 seconds, but for the most part they're within a second or two of each other. So potential for gains to be made. Yellow flags in sector 2. I'm not quite sure what that's for, Dan. I'm not seeing anything to really point out towards that. Maybe one of the stewards or the marshals just fancying waving it about for a little bit.
That's it. Yeah, they're a bit bored at this moment in time, so they're just throwing the flags. Victor Mean into the pits. Where's he going to come out?
Second pit stop for the Mercedes, of course, losing the front wing early doors on the recovery mission, like we said, and fresh mediums to the end.
Scooter Clem behind that gaggle of cars there. That's going to be a tough ask.
He is going to have to make some moves. Scooter Clem making a move on Curly. 13 lap old hards. He might just be able to stretch him to the end, but they will be screaming. Victor Mean then on the fresh mediums. Once they get warmed up, going to be able to chase these cars down, and does have the tyre life advantage and the compound advantage. And I believe, Dan, we've got a spinning AlphaTauri at the back.
Yeah, that's it. It's Ghost Angel 1. The stewards had to pick their flag back up and throw it straight back out because unfortunately, AlphaTauri. It's just that final sector again, Scott. It's proving tricky. Just a little bit of wrong angle, and your car can just kick, and that's it.
It just disappears from underneath you, it feels like, and it can be really frustrating because at times you might not even know why it's happening. Battle for P2 then, pardon me, was raging on 13 lap old hards for IR Marshall. Again, one that could maybe stretch him right to the end.
Here we go. Sorry to interrupt. SUFC is into the pit, so this is crunch time, Scott. This is the crunch time.
Big couple of corners in for Mark Wilson. He's been held up maybe a little bit between Wuban and IR Marshall. Wuban pulls into the pits as well, following suit with SUFC, and now Mark Wilson he's not actually got DRS. I thought he would. Up the hill, gets ahead of SUFC.
There are no cars in between them. This is going to be spicy.
Absolutely. Just about 2 seconds roughly, maybe be slightly over the 2 seconds by the time those tyres get up to speed and temp between them. 3-second penalties for SUFC. He has got tyre, he has got life advantage, so there will be a bit more pace to them, but he's not got the just catch, he's not got the just overtake, he's got the catch, overtake and clear Mark Wilson by 3 seconds, and we know the pace Mark has got. That's not going to be an easy feat.
No, you're absolutely right, but looking at SUFC, he's got 90% ERS. He has saved that battery knowing exactly what he needs to do.
It's, yeah.
I'm excited.
Sorry, just to jump in, we've got 3 wide. What a move by Victor Mean into turn 11. I was so focused on Murphy going for a little dive on scooter claim that I didn't even see the Mercedes coming, and I don't think the other two either. They're trying to go 3 wide once
Murphy
again.
Gonna go back for it.
Murphy.
He's gonna try. Oh, he switched back. No, fair play. He's done the right thing.
The 3 of them keeping it clean, keeping it. In fact, not even elbows out. It was just a nice bit of racing, and what a very opportunistic move by Victor Mean to get the double overtake into turn 11. Murphy takes the move off scooter claim, but loses out to Victor Mean, and Victor on those fresh mediums is now going to get his toe down and try and pull away just within the DRS is Murphy of Victor Mean. So he is going to have that little pull up the hill towards turn 1, but Victor putting in the fastest lap while he's at it, and Murphy low on the ERS. Further up the field, we'll get on back on board with Mark Wilson. He's chased down at Marshall. Marshall, of course, could technically go all the way to the finish, and in fact, yeah, his tyres are going to be slow, they're going to be worn and maybe a little bit overheat, but the gap from SUFC back to Victor Mean, it's going to shrink slowly, you would like to think, with the pace Victor can maybe put in. But Marshall, if he can hold out, he could have a pretty good chance at a solid P3, maybe P4 at worst case scenario here.
No, that's it. That's it. You know, it's very very interesting. I said the end of this race was going to be good, but Mark Wilson is almost putting himself in a great position. I think if he can get that car between him and SUFC, it's then, I'm not going to say it, but it will put him in a very very good position.
Absolutely, gives him a little bit of a rear gunner. He has got to be wary though, because of SUFC on the mediums, of course. He's going to have that little bit extra grip, particularly for these next few laps. Look at how much grip he's got through the triple right-hander. As if almost, you know, wanting to show exactly what I'm talking about. Almost making contact with the rear Mark Wilson, just being able to carry so much more speed there. And like a corner like this where you need the exit speeds, you need DRS, you need, you know, battery to help the straight line speed. Mark might see himself defending rather than attacking here, and
okay, right. Does that show a bit of desperation from SUFC? He knows he's got that penalty. He knows he needs to get past him. Is he maybe just getting a little bit too impatient?
He's maybe wanting to do what Mark's want to do, put a car between them, try and hold up Mark for as long as he can, and try and build that 3-second gap. Yeah, maybe a little bit of desperation creeping in at the front. Mark Wilson getting a run down. He is going to get DRS down the back straight with that detection point. He's going to get the move done before
very
turn number 11.
from him there. Very, very clever. Stayed behind just before that DRS zone, and that's it. But the wings on that Ferrari.
They are extremely low. SUFC going to the left side, making it 3 wide. The two Mercedes, the Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo going side by side. The Ferrari getting left for dust, and you can see the red light flashing on the rears. The Red Bull as the Ferrari makes contact. I'm not too sure with that one.
It's such a tricky sector to take anyway. But if you're going to try and make it 2-3 wide, it needs to be space everywhere. So I think it was just not enough track for the 3 of them. Again, the old adage, 3 doesn't go into 2, 2 doesn't go into 1, and well, now we have a battle. SUFC running a little wide on the exit of Andretti, turn number 20. He is going to have DRS, of course, and he has got the ERS advantage on Mark Wilson, but penalties are lurking in the back of his mind.
7 laps to go, including this one. Lap 22 out of 28, and he's got to clear him by 3 seconds. And the thing is, Dan, every lap that this race drags on, yes, Mark's tyres are 5 laps older, and yes, they're a compound harder. They will be starting to slowly turn into Mark's favour when it comes to the pure pace available from the rubber compound.
Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. But you've got SUFC taking it so cautious in Sector 1 because he knows he has this opportunity here to take him on the straight. It's very smart racing from him. You can see from his telemetry, he's lifting off. He's taking wider lines just to make sure. And here we go. Oh, okay. Strange. He could have... But he's past him, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Just as it happened, the camera I was on board with decided to show me a picture of the SUFC's rear wing, so was it a little bit of a swerve to try and break the toe maybe there, or... yeah, strange one for us, but SUFC gets the move done and is up into the provisional lead of this race. Of course, 3-second time penalty in hand for him. He's got to try and clear that out.
Flag. It's just a Mercedes, ignore me.
I'd say, yeah, me and Moody a lap down here, struggling a little bit at this stage of the Grand Prix. Mark Wilson then is going to have DRS, and in fact the ERS situation between these two isn't much different.
No, SUFC using it. You could see him using it just to get ahead.
It's maybe needed to save a little bit more of that because DRS is maybe going to keep Mark in tow, particularly for the next few laps until the hards start to become a slightly better tyre and give him a little bit more grip available than SUFC has. Saying that though, SUFC has just broken the 1 second delta at this point in time, so the DRS not going to be there for Mark, but yeah, it would have been crucial for him to pull away. We'll keep an eye on the times between them two, Dan, because I noticed there's been a little battle raging on for P7 the last few laps. Hasbulla, Curley and Wuban, 3 cars trying it out for P7. Hasbulla on 9-lap-old hards ahead of Curley on 18-lap-old hards, and then Wuban on the 4-lap-old mediums. You'd reckon should be the paciest of the 3, and he is of course the only one without a pen. There's Trundles going for the strategy we thought he might go on after that second set of mediums. Set of softs now to the end, maybe hoping for a safety car before this to bring him back into contention, but I'd put my money on him getting fastest lap by the end of this Grand Prix.
No, you're absolutely right. It's what a lot of us do like to do. It's a little bit of fun at the end of the race. If you're near the back, chuck your softs on and see what you can do. 24 seconds to the car ahead of him. With, like you said, failing a safety car, it is just see what he can do.
Absolutely, see what he can do. Try and put in some fast laps, and at the worst case, have some fun with it. This battle's still kind of kicking on for P7. There's another one raging on for P3 between IR Marshall and Victor Mean. We'll maybe jump back to that at a later stage. SUFC 1.7 seconds clear of Mark Wilson, and Mark Wilson.
No!
It happened in Portugal. It's happened in America. He's gave himself a late penalty.
He is going to be gutted. Danielle was in the chat saying her heart, this is too much. There's a little bit more. It's very, very unfortunate because he's always got pace, Mark Wilson. He's always got pace. But there we go. It's now just going to be down to whose tyres can stay in the peak window for the longest.
Absolutely, and it could be a secondary layer of heartbreak for Mark as well, because he has got Victor Mean on the fresher mediums. They might start to going off their cliff a little bit. Almost makes contact with the rear of the Ferrari of IR Marshall. But if he can get clear of the Ferrari, we know what kind of pace Victor can have at times. And 6.5 seconds gap now. There's 4 laps to go. Well, there you go. 6.9 the gap is now, and there is about 4 laps to go. So it's not going to be hugely on his mind, but it's a sort of thing, a little mistake now, and he's went from battling out for the win. He could be losing P2 with a mistake, but the same also applies to SUFC, of course. 1.8 seconds up the road. It is now a battle on track between those two for the win. unless, of course, something creaks in. And we're almost now, Dan, at the stage of no safety cars. What a spanner that would put in the works, because these guys without pens would be right up there.
That's it. There are a lot of people with pens on the grid right now. So could we see it? You know, we've seen a lot of spins in that last sector, but we've only got, I believe, this lap, and that's it. So we'll keep an eye. But I think we're safe.
Should be for the most part. To be fair, you know, given the circuit, how it can be, AFL on 9, and then we've got a number of cars: Trunders, Atom, Spider Rob, Topher, Curly, Hasbullah, Mark Wilson, FCFC, all on 3. It's a relatively low cumulative account. I believe the record, if I remember right, it was about season 5, it must have been season 5, around Mexico, where I believe we got up into the 3 figure for time penalties, corner cutting. Of course, Mexico, a short distance away from Texas, but similar in that can be a tricky track for pad user particularly, because there's another lot of S's there. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's it. It's always the pad users.
Ghost
More
Angel
penalties
1.
there.
Yeah, he's added to that tally late on here tonight is Ghost. He's one of our more experienced drivers as well on the grid. He's been around since round 34, I believe it was, 33 maybe, the first ever round in season number 4. Currently P16 at the moment, still looking for his first points of the season, but one thing I will say, he is an absolute trier and an amazing member of the community. We love to have him here, and I love his determination to just keep going with it. Hasbullah, a newer member of the community, showing a little bit of guts here tonight, battling out with Wuban for P7, of course. 3 second time penalty for him. He might get the move done on track, but it's going to be tricky unless there's a mistake in from Wuban. Maybe just not even a spin or that, just a little bit of running wide and getting a penalty of himself. And of course, they're not too far back down the road from Scooter Claim. But as I say, that Hasbullah...
Speaking of...
Yeah, I was more meaning Hasbullah's chances were Wuban getting a pen, but Hasbullah decided that he just wanted another one for himself.
He
so
played the Uno reverse. That's what he did.
Do you know what I've noticed, Dan? As soon as I said they were doing well, there hasn't been many penalties. We've had about 4 of them.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
that's the joys of being a commentator. The gap up the front, though, Dan, I've just noticed 1.1 seconds it's down to now.
Mark must be completely ruined that mistake. You know, he'd be in such a strong position right now, but he now knows. Maybe that's why the gap's closed. He knows he needs to push because he's only got 2 laps to make it.
2 laps to go then, like you say, and it is all about who can get ahead on track. And I think you're probably right. Yeah, Mark maybe just saving the tyres, sort of just keeping a decent enough pace to keep within the 3 seconds, leaving a little bit in the tank in case he had to really, really put the hammer down. And now it's maybe all coming. He's having to use it. He's having to try and get the move done on track. If he can get within the 1 second mark, of course, he can get that DRS assistance, and that could be the distance. FUFC is saved a little bit more ERS, but both of them pretty much going for it here. And now it's gonna be tight. It's 1.1 seconds over the detection. It's not quite close enough for Mark. But again, there's a little ebb and flow, and he's not far off the 1 second at certain points in this track. If he can time it right and get into the 1 second at the detection zones, we could have a mighty battle here on the final lap of this American Grand Prix. Battle raging on further behind. P6, Scooter Clem and Wuban. We'll have a look at that at some point, but all eyes on these two coming through the 3rd sector for the penultimate time. And Mark really giving it everything to try and chase down SUFC's Alfa Romeo here, Dan.
Yeah, you can see the setup differences. Mark Wilson catching through the tight, intricate corners, but then as soon as you get to a high power output part of the track, you can see SUFC just get that little bit of time he needs to stay out of the DRS. But did he? Oh, he just missed the detection, but it's going to be close.
Yeah.
It's going to be close.
I think the gap was 1.058 over the detection. You can see it rising. Like you say, there are 2 tenths or so up into turn number 1. A nice little pull again for SUFC through this low downforce section before the S's. We'll ride on board with Mark then through the S's and see if that time does cut down. He takes a little bit of the curb there on the inside.
Maybe a bit of a tactical corner cut. I like it. I can't say I'm against it.
You've got a few to use, a few to play with, maybe go for it. And it's going to be very tight here once again. But the downhill section, the power section, going to play into SUFC's advantage. And just, this is maybe going to be the last overtaking opportunity, and with SUFC's maybe lower downforce setup, it might be too much.
That's all she wrote.
Unless there's, well, the third sector, the twisting, tight and technical section, unless there's some, you know.
They're both flashing, they both got absolutely nothing left in their battery tank. Oh my, both on 6%.
Absolutely giving it everything through this final sector. Mark is going to be a little bit quicker with the higher downforce setup, but it'll maybe just be a little bit too little, a little bit too late. He'll be ruining that late pen. It's cost him the win here in Kota, and SUFC, top of the championship, is going to extend his lead provisionally, of course, all of this before Stewarden, and it's going to be by the tiniest margins.
Look at that. Maybe one more lap, but wow.
Brilliant drive from the two of them. SUFC then takes the checker flag ahead of Mark Wilson. Victor Mean, with an incredible recovery drive, takes P3. Marshall, 24 laps on the hards, brings it home for the P4 in the Ferrari. Murphy, P5. What a race it could have been for him if a few little issues hadn't crept in. Wuban, P6 for the Haas, ahead of Scooter Clem, P7. Hasbula, P8. Curley comes home in P9 ahead of the Ferrari of Topher. Spider Rob then crosses the line, P11 for Aston Martin. And I believe it is going to be the first championship point for the man in the Alpine. It is P12 for the mighty Atom. AFL crumbing over the line in style, loses P13 to DS Baker and loses his front wing while he's at it. But yeah, I think about 9-12 seconds of pains always going to happen. Trundles then will be the last car to finish on this lead lap, with Ghost Angel 1 finishing 1 lap down from the leaders. But that has been it for the American Grand Prix, Dan. It was, I think it lived up to the expectations and the hype we sort of tried to bring to it at the beginning of this.
It did. We wanted action, and we got action. That last stint, just all over the place, not just at the front, but you can see the gaps and the battles that were being had all the way down the grid. So it was very, very good to see.
Absolutely tremendous to see, tremendous to watch, and hopefully more of that to come in the next few weeks or so. We've got 7 more weeks of action here for season 8. I was going to be more prepped, but I haven't been able to get opening time. There we go. Next week, of course, a slightly different track, a slightly more historic track. It is, of course, the Hungaroring in Nagyo Magadic. I believe it is pronounced in Hungarian. I don't know if we've got any Hungarian drivers. Start Roland, I believe, tier 3. Let me know if I said that right. We're, of course, heading to Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix before Bahrain, Singapore, Austria, Mexico City, Saudi Arabia and Belgium to round things off. But still, maybe not get too far ahead of ourselves here, because we've got 3 drivers to congratulate. SUFC P4 to P1 with a very, very solid drive. Not quite as dominant as we've seen him in previous weeks. Mark Wilson, you can see his best lap time not quite up there with the rest, but just shows how consistent he is. Most of his lap times must have been around about that 1:38 mark. And Victor Mean, I think he was near enough a lap down at one stage. An early safety car, pulling him back in and managing to recover with the 2-stop. Marshall, Murphy, Wiban, Scooter Clem, Hasblat, Curley, Topher, Spider-Rob and Atom round off your points scorers. Spider-Rob gets the fastest lap, but not finishing the top 10, won't get a bonus point. DS Baker, AFL, Trunders and Ghost Angel 1, the last of our finishers, with Moody, Thomas Tip Top, DNF and Ben. Ben. Again, another driver race of what it could have been for him. He, of course, get disqualified due to 2 drive-throughs. He served the first, couldn't serve the second, or didn't serve the second. yeah, I can only feel sorry for him with that. But should we do some interviews tonight, Dan? Are you up for
Why
conducting
not? Why
some
not?
one-to-ones?
Why not? Who we got? So, SUFC, Victor Mean,
And Mark
and
Wilson, our top three. SUFC then extending his gap at the top. Mark Wilson will jump AFL, and Victor Mean will do also. IR Marshall, in fact, our top four here tonight. 4 of the top 5 in the championship. Marshall is P5 of 89 points, a little bit adrift of the top 4, but he is going to get a nice chunk ahead of the likes of Wuban, ahead of Trundle's Topher Curley, who is sort of battling it out with. Scooter Claim takes advantage in his battle with Mean Moody, but Murphy is going to be pretty close to the rear of the Welshman in the championship battle. And Mighty Atom jumps up from P19 to P18 in the standings, taking his first point of the season. And yeah, we'll try and get our top 3 in for a quick little chat before we call it good night.
yeah, just adding them now.
Lovely stuff. But I suppose I'll go on again and say a big thank you to all you guys in the chat. Daniela saying, like you said, oh my god, my heart, this is too much. And then a load of crying emojis once the the pen did come out for Mark, but then saying so close, well done. Reese Allen Jones, who I believe is Victor Mean, just summing up the race in one word, saying wow. I don't think I can do much better with a single word than that. We'll start, of course, then I think with P3 tonight then, Dan. It is Victor Mean. Scotsman back on the podium once again after a win last week, and I suppose my first question is, you've got to be thrilled with that after the start to the race you had tonight, mate.
A bit of both, yeah. I'm pretty annoyed, yeah. I think I probably had the pace to win if I didn't. I think I had maybe 15 or 16 on track overtakes, so I'm a bit... To come that close to the end, I think I was 4 seconds behind Mark after his penalty. Like, yeah, I should be happy, but I'm not, It's hard to be happy in that situation, I think.
5.4 off the lead, 4.7 off P2. I suppose it is one of those where you're happy in the sense of the recovery you made, but a little bit annoyed in the sense of having to put yourself in that situation. SUFC taking the victory, so you've not been able to close down the top, but you are still well and truly in this championship fight. You'll of course jump AFL as things stand up to P3, I believe. Just a few points off Mark still, and a little bit off SUFC. But next week is of course Hungary. Do you think you can keep the good times rolling there?
I'm more confident than I was last week after the race. Knowing that I'm kind of getting a bit more consistent and I'm up there with them. Yeah, I like Hungary. I think I was winning the race at one point in the Tier 3 race last year before I binned it. But I'm not doing that anymore this year, so at least permanently. So I think I'm trending up. I'll give it a couple more races before I'm saying that I think I'm one of the best in the league. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the last couple of weeks as it is. So yeah, we're just gonna see how they keep coming.
Pretty much modesty and victory. I think a very, very good kind of outlook to have. A very rare thing as well, Dan. You'll be able to know there's a lot of egos you get out there, especially up the higher tiers. But I love to see a bit of modesty with that. Dan, anything for Victor Mean P3 here tonight?
No, just very, very well done. We all sort of feared the worst at the start there. With S section lap 1, we saw you. Unfortunately, I think it was lap 1. Involved in an unfortunate incident, but very, very good recovery drive. Did you sort of think it was out of the question when you spun straight away?
Yes.
or did you have that confidence, you think, that you could have got back up there?
I thought it was over, yeah. I spun twice on the first lap. No, once in the first lap and then broke my wing, I think on the second. So it was, really bad. And then I think I got really lucky with the safety car happening right as I was in the pits. So I saw someone retire as soon as I crashed. I thought, oh, no, that could just be me. I could just go and have dinner. I could take the night off. No, it was really fun. I like Kota a lot. So, but no, those two guys, are so fast. You know, I'm hoping that the next race we have we're actually involved together, because I think the last 3 I've not I've not been alongside them at all for the features. So we'll see what happens in the next one. You know.
Good. That's what we like to hear. You know, drivers wanting to race each other instead of just the checking out and getting away. You know, it's good to hear you want to be involved. So no, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I'm looking to see some of them battles in the coming week, and yeah, once again, congratulations on P3 again tonight, Mark. Once again, mate, I don't know whether to say congratulations or commiserations. It's the second week in a row. It's a late penalty has done you out of a terrific position. This time the race win, but P2 nonetheless. I'm not going to ask you happy with it, because I know you'll be absolutely raging with that.
Yeah, it's painful. To be fair, I think he was going to do me anyway, but his tyres were falling apart at the end. I knew they would, but to get that penalty, yeah, it's painful one. So.
Yeah, the gap between you 7 tenths at the end, of course. The 3 seconds you'd been well clear. We did see, though, once you got that penalty, you picked up the pace a little bit. I take it there was a little bit of that before. Was it trying to manage the pace?
Yeah, so I knew I was on 2 warnings. So obviously that S section in sector 1, I mean it's a penalty monster. Like, it'll eat you up. So yeah, I was trying to be careful, and as soon as I got it, I sort of just had a weight lifted off my shoulder, and I thought, you know what, let's just go and put some pressure on him and see what happens. But yeah, well done to him, because he held on.
Yeah, we were sitting watching the time, 1.7, 1.1, and it seemed as if every time you got to detection zone, it was 1.000 something. You just couldn't get within that DRS, but I think maybe a lap or 2 more as those tyres went off, you would have had him. We noticed as well a big difference in the setup. I take it you're running quite maybe not a high downforce, but certainly a higher downforce than SUFC setup.
Yeah, I knew that as well. I knew that down the straights he was going to fly away. But in the corners, I was a lot quicker. I just felt a bit more comfortable with the higher downforce in the corners to the straights, but I just couldn't get in that DRS. If I was in that DRS, I'd have obviously closed up a bit more, but I just couldn't get near him.
Absolutely, maybe a lap or 2 more, but nonetheless, congratulations, another podium, Mark. Definitely continuing to see the improvements we've seen the last few seasons, the consistency building up there, and definitely one to watch for the rest of the season and definitely for the future. Dan, anything for Mark tonight?
No, I think you all covered it. I was going to mention the setup bit. You know, we noticed it in the race. Do you think? I think Scott may have just touched on it, but 1 or 2 more laps you could have had him.
Well,
or do you think that was pretty much the ceiling?
It's funny you say that, because as we crossed the line, I said 1 more lap. That's the first word I said, 1 more lap, and I'd have been on him. But yeah, it was. I mean, he held on well, so congratulations to him.
Brilliant stuff. I don't think we've got SUFC here tonight, do we, Dan?
He is here.
Oh, is he here? I never seen him join. Oh, he sneaked in. Well, we'll touch on that then. Championship leader going ahead with another little points haul. P4, I believe it, P3 to P1 tonight. You're definitely the man to beat, and you've put it down there again. I suppose just give us a little summary how you're feeling right now, mate. 7 races to go.
Yeah, well, starting with the race, like, fair play to Mark, he had me sweating. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I just, at the end of the stint, once I seen him get that penalty, I was eased off a little bit, because I was on 2 warnings. So I was like, I'll make sure I actually get across the line rather than pick up another penalty. So
just showing not just pace then from yourself, race management. The same with Mark as well. A big key factor, and a reason why not just you two, Victor as well. The 3 years have been pretty successful in the last few weeks. Hungary next week then. We're getting towards the business end, the final third of the season. Of course, we're well into the second half now. What's your expectations? Is it another track where we can see a bit of SUFC magic, or is it going to be maybe a little downward trend? Or not that I'm trying to put any commentator's curse on early, but you know, I want to see this championship battle go right to the bitter end. No offense against yourself.
No, well, I won it last season, so hopefully if I can do the same. But last season I I crossed the line on like 85% hards on mediums, so because there was like a safety car and I was like, I'm not going to box, I'm going to risk it. So that was the only reason I won. So, but I'm sure if Mark and Victor keep the pace they're showing, then I'm sure it'll be like quite an interesting race.
At the very least, they'll keep you honest. And I suppose my last question, it's got absolutely nothing to do with the racing, but how are you feeling about Murphy mistaking you for Baza?
It's because he's old, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
We'll just put it down to old age. Nah, he knows I'm joking. But nah, it's cool.
I just had
Simple
to get that
mistake.
one.
So because I know it's being recorded, that's why I said it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said that.
No, certainly. Don't worry, me and Dan do it all the time to Murphy. We love him every little bit, but yeah, you're a little bit old, mate. Dan, anything you want to add at all, pal?
No, that's it. I think. I think that's a nice way to end it. We'll leave it there. We'll give them a nice early finish.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Free, for joining us. Congratulations once again. Thank you for joining me tonight, Dan, and thank you all for tuning in and watching. Tier 3 was raced earlier on in the night. You could join Jamie Indigo for that, as those drivers took to the Circuit of the Americas. Tier 2 and Tier 1 take to the track on Thursday night. Dan will be racing in Tier 2. Jamie Indigo will be commentating in Tier 1. I'll be Jonathan Tier 2. Who knows, I might even make an appearance if I can be bothered, I think is probably the correct term. But I suppose we'll end it off here. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a very, very good rest of your evening and a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you and good